In this video, you're going to learn how biogas is produced and how you can use this renewable energy in your home. You'll also discover how you can use this system to run an organic farm or garden just from the biofertilizer generated from the biodigester. Let me be clear, this is not a sponsored video, meaning I didn't get paid by the company to make this video. I published it because I'm passionate about the topic of sanitation and I wanted to share the knowledge with you. I've organized this video in terms of chapters because of its length, so you can watch each section according to your liking. You can also come back later to watch it again and again.
Incredible innovation in cities across the country. Automobiles with smarter technology now keep people safer than ever. We have light poles that can sense the environment around them. The list goes on and on. But no matter how many good things we're told about the spaces where we live, cities have never been able to completely mask the problems that almost all of them have in common. Poverty, inequality, vacancy, unemployment. These things follow us everywhere. I dare you to find a city in the United States that doesn't struggle with any of these things. They're very hard to escape in this country. In some places, they've caused irreparable damage. Could public transportation be the answer? But I believe that rethinking roads could help us to solve some of these problems. Because think about it, roads everywhere, and everyone uses them. Regardless if a car or a bike or even a home, roads are so central to everything that we do. But are we using them to their fullest potential? Solving these types of social problems can be challenging because we're dealing with the ultimate variable, humans. Famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, "In science, when human behavior enters the equation, things go nonlinear. That's why physics is easy and sociology is hard." I love this quote. I love it so much, and it's not just because I'm a sociologist.
The United States Department of Defense is the world's largest employer. Full stop. Between active duty troops, civilian staffers, and National Guard personnel, nearly 3 million employees sit on this roster, but uniquely, these staff work all around the world on a rotating basis. The global nature of the world's best-funded military necessitates a transportation network rivaling legitimate, well-known airlines and ocean shipping companies, yet exclusively used and experienced by those 3 million or so individuals employed by the U.S. DoD. The core of the passenger system is based assigned lease to either Turkey Air Base Greenland, Ramstein Air Base Germany, Incirlik Air Base Turkey, Kuwait International Airport, or Hamdi Air Base Qatar. Passengers typically personal, or if you look into a base allows families, their spouses and children, check-in at desks just as they do flying United, Delta, or American, with an extra early cutoff of 2 hours and 20 minutes before departure. They then head through regular security and go to a regular gate in Terminal E. Next, they board through regular on behalf of the government. Alice Air, National Airlines, and Omni Air International among them. With the goal of minimizing travel costs for the DoD, but also enabling staff outside of combat zones to travel home more frequently on a discretionary basis, the Patriot Express program lowers the relative distance between American military bases and the mainland United States and vice versa, even to the extent of allowing a wider range of flights on board than commercial airlines. The military enables this relative connectivity by operating a space-available system. People need to travel to get to and from their deployments and guaranteed seats booked in advance. But for staff who just want to travel for non-job reasons, they can have any seat left on the flight for free just by adding their name to a list via a website or app, then showing up to the airport with Davis departure. Priority system is used during house-hunting trips, for example, as more people travel of retired and Regularly start their summer trips by taking the Southwest flight to Fly, fast forward to see if they made the list, swing to Ramstein Air Base. And once they successfully make it to the other side of the Atlantic, another surprisingly accommodating venture of the DoD awaits them, the Ramstein Inn. Sitting directly opposite the airbase's polished glass passenger terminal, the towering hotel, operated by the DoD's Air Force Services Agency, offers hundreds of rooms at reasonable to eligible current or former. Each base military operates a network of similar hotels on their bases, and some purely recreational sites even exist to offer personnel at home, but especially abroad, low-cost and American-styled rest and relaxation opportunities. Nestled in the outskirts.
So these days, I've been highly considering going to therapy for stress and anxiety management in particular. So I'm really thankful for BetterHelp. They provide licensed therapists who are trained to listen to you and to help you. Growing up in a very traditional Asian household, I think there was definitely a very negative connotation to therapy and a stigma around it. I feel like it's been really difficult for me to live in the moment when all of these tasks are looming in my head. So needless to say, I've been stretched kind of thin, and my mental health has been not so great. So I didn't know where to start myself to do it. Therapist launched me in about an hour, and I'm super nervous because this is my first therapy session ever, but I'm also super excited. For those of you who are new to BetterHelp, you can talk to your therapist at your convenience, and you can also choose between either video or phone session. I opted in for a phone session because I'm a little shy, and then I think we'll work our way towards like a video session later down in the line. Plus, you can also exchange messages. They provide a broad range of expertise with their network of 20,000 plus therapists, and therefore you have access to help that may not be available in your area. All you need to do to get started is fill out a quick questionnaire, which will help them assess your needs. If you end up not vibing with your therapist, that's totally okay. You're always able to request for a new one at any point in time at no additional cost.
The M1 Abrams entered service in 1980, a fast, heavily armored tank with the very latest technologies to give it every advantage on the battlefield. First seen in action in Operation Desert Storm, the plain, arid camouflage tank gained a reputation quickly for the and QA. Powered by a high-speed turbine engine, the M1 raced across this difficult terrain to liberate Kuwait from Iraqi occupation. The German-designed 120mm smoothbore cannon had longer range, more accurate fire, and more advanced ammunition. It easily dispatched the lower tech Soviet supplied tanks of the Iraqi army. Sometime this year, it's expected that the US will deliver a battalion M1 Abram tanks to Ukraine to once again face off against the Soviet tanks it was designed to battle. The Ukrainian army will need training to maintain and operate these new tanks because they are like no other tank. And although this tank is over 40 years old, it's still more than capable of holding its own on the battlefield, thanks to continual modernization and forward-thinking design. This is the insane engineering of the M1 Abrams. The M1 Abrams, upon engine startup, sounds more like a military aircraft getting ready to take off. A terrifying increasing pitch as the engine revs up to speed. Whirring sound emanating from the rotating turbine blades hidden inside. The turbine engine, typically used for jet aircraft, is an engine designed for high-speed operation with minimal weight. A counterintuitive choice for a heavy battle tank. So why was it two huge advantages? They are much lighter than an equivalent diesel engine, weighing just 1.1 tons and developing 1,500 brake horsepower. The V12 diesel engine of the Challenger 2 produces 1,200 brake horsepower with 2 tons of metal. This compactness and extreme high power to weight ratio allows the M1 to stack on layers of armor without sacrificing acceleration or top speed. We can plot torque versus shaft speed of the Honeywell AGT 1500 turbine engine of the M1 against the V12 MTU 883 of the Challenger 2E, and we can see the turbine has a massive torque advantage at lower shaft speeds. In its lightest configuration, the M1 weighs 61.8 tons. A typical Toyota Corolla weighs 1.1 ton. That's equivalent to 56 Toyota Corollas. Yet, this thing can accelerate from 0 to 32 kilometers per hour in just 7 seconds with a top speed of 72 kilometers per hour. The M1 Abrams primarily uses diesel fuel, as diesel can act as an additional layer of armor. Liquids are extremely good at absorbing energy from explosions and kinetic energy weapons. They are most effective against shaped charges, and tanks carry a lot of liquid in the form of fuel. It may seem counterintuitive to use fuel as protection from an explosion, but diesel fuel is not very flammable. In fact, if you throw a lit match into a puddle of diesel, it will put the match out. Diesel engines require immense pressure and a sustained flame to ignite as armor. However, the turbine engine can also operate on most fuel types. This is a huge advantage in military logistics, making joint operations with NATO vastly easier. In the ignition engines, the Western Allies used a mixture of both gasoline spark ignition and diesel compression ignition. Or the M1 others kerosene can be used in two aircraft engines with some important low pressure compressor. Separate turbine, typical aircraft combustors. It is mounted perpendicularly to the engine and protrudes out of the engine. Silicon carbide offers a hardness 5 times greater, up to 2,500, while being much lighter than steel, making it an excellent candidate for armor. But anyone that has dropped a dinner plate knows that ceramics are extremely brittle. They shatter into a million pieces with little force. But this can be used to the tank's advantage when combined with a tougher metal backing plate. In this configuration, the ceramic is placed on the outside of the metal plating, acting like an extremely hard outer shell. When a round strikes the armor, the compressive strength and hardness of the ceramic coating causes the round to fracture and break apart. At the same time, the ceramic coating begins to fracture and fragment, spreading the energy of impact across a larger area formed by the tougher metal plate backing the ceramic. Tough in material science means it can absorb a lot of energy without fracturing, the opposite of brittle. Further research and experimentation found ceramic armor performed even better when placed under compression. This can be achieved by simply adding a faceplate and bolting the two pieces together. This changes the dynamics of an impact significantly and helps immensely with resisting attack from long-rod kinetic energy projectiles. These are rounds specifically designed as anti-armor weapons launch out of tank barrels. They are typically manufactured from high-density with a thin aerodynamic shape and high density. These weapons have an extremely high ballistic coefficient, allowing them to ram into targets at a distance at high velocities. They can obliterate rows of concrete walls with ease. Embedded compressed ceramic armor can defeat these kinetic energy weapons that pulverizes it and increases its volume. This creates what is essentially an abrasive maze.
There's the one that lets you escape into new worlds.
The one who wants to be a kid again. Sedang! Awesome!
The one who wants to nourish your soul.
I can't help but smile.
Feeling pretty good. And the one who thinks laughter is
There are many sides to you, and all of them deserve the best. Introducing Max, the one to watch.
of extremely hard and sharp particles the penetrator has to push through, gradually grinding it away. Computer simulations of this effect show that the harder the material, the better. This is the magic of ceramic composite armor. On top of these metal and ceramic layers, there is typically a very dense inner liner called a spall lining. Projectiles don't necessarily need to penetrate every layer of armor to be deadly. If they hit with enough force, the kinetic energy can simply transfer through the material as a wave and cause material on the inside of the tank to splinter and turn. It's called spall. Some munitions are specifically designed to cause this high explosive stress that fractures the armor. The spall liner is a ductile and dense material that limits spalling. For early M1s, this layer was typically composed of lead, but beginning in 1988, certain M1A1s began to be upgraded with depleted uranium spall liners, which are even denser than lead, and all new M1A2s were assembled with depleted uranium liners. However, modern composite armor makes it difficult for the shockwave to transmit through the material, and a space layer with an air gap can defeat this squash ammunition completely. Additional reactive armor tiles can be added to the outside of the M12. Reactive armor is particularly effective at dealing with shaped charges. Shaped charges consist of a charge-shaped hollow indentation. A pressure wave forms behind the metal liner, deforming it and accelerating the metal into a lance-like stream of particles. The shaped charge effectively creates a hyper through armor. Reactive armor works by placing an explosive charge between two metal plates. When a jet from a shaped charge strikes the upper plate, it detonates the inner explosive. You may think this could damage the tank. Lower armor is more than capable of dealing with the relatively blunt pressure formed by the reactive armor detonation. The outer plate then flies outwards to disrupt the incoming jet, while the shockwave formed by the detonation also breaks up the stream of metal approaching the tank. Of course, the best defense is to not be hit at all, and the M1 can create a smokescreen for itself when needed. The M1 has two systems for generating smoke to conceal itself in an engagement. The first involves simply spraying fuel into the engine exhaust, which and creates a large opaque cloud behind the tank. However, it's extremely important that the driver remembers which fuel the tank is running on. This works for diesel fuel, but if gasoline or kerosene is used, it won't conceal the M1. It will set it on fire. The second system uses grenade launchers mounted on the outside of the turret. There are two versions the M1 uses. The 8 canister M257, typically used with the US Marine Corps M's, and more widely used 6 can M250. These launchers are controlled from the tank commander's seat here. Pressing one button launches 6 grenades, 3 from the left and 3 from the right. Pressing both buttons launches all 12 of the grenades, launching them about 30 meters from the movements. The engineers of the M1 Abrams did everything in their power to make the M1 as survivable as possible, protecting the crew inside. And the highly trained crew are the most important part of this machine. The M1 Abrams does not have an automatic loader like many modern tanks. It has a dedicated crew member, the loader, to load rounds into the breech. Auto loaders are a feature of modern Russian tanks. However, the USA have shown them in their tanks, seen an autoloader as an unnecessarily complex mechanism that would impact the M1's reliability. Seen a fourth crew member capable of keeping watch, maintaining the vehicle, and taking over responsibilities in an emergency as an advantage, not a disadvantage. The loader enters the tank through the turret hatch, sitting to the left of the gun, with access to the ammunition box behind them. The gunner to the right is in charge of aiming at targets using these day and thermal night vision sights, along with a laser range finder to input target distances into the ballistic computer.
When instructed by the tank commander sitting behind the gun, the loader will press a switch with their knee to open a hydraulically actuated armored door behind them. The tank commander will specify the round needed, and the loader will take it out, load it into the breech, close the breech, and move the safe handle into the armed position. This process will be repeated until a ceasefire is called by the tank commander. The armored ammunition access door is only open when loading, and this is crucial for the survivability of the M1 Abrams. If a round penetrates the ammunition box, it can result in a lethal detonation of the ammunition stored inside. This armored door is capable of withstanding this blast, and panels on top of the tank, called blowout panels, are designed to break and allow the pressure and heat to be directed upwards and away from the crew. These rounds are fired out of the M1's 120mm cannon. Early M1s were fitted with a 105mm cannon. 105 referring to the bore diameter of the gun. This decision was made primarily to allow a sharing of ammunition and parts between the 105mm on the previous generation M60 tank. With the development of depleted uranium rounds, it was viewed that this gun was more than adequate to deal with any Soviet armor. However, US allies like Germany did not want to use depleted uranium rounds due to ethical implications and were moving to Royal Ordnance L11 and the German Leopard 2 using the Rheinmetall RH-120 to optimize logistics, with ammunition factories across no countries producing the same ammunition. This ensured ammunition could not only be shared but manufactured as close to the front line as possible. The 120mm guns of the M1A1 and M1A2 are in fact German Rheinmetall RH-120s, manufactured under license in the US, a 5.3-meter long, 3.3-ton smoothbore cannon. This large bulge in the middle of the cannon is designed to evacuate the barrel of propellant gases after each firing. Once the round barrel, atmospheric pressure can prevent the gases from leaving, and once the breech is opened, the potentially harmful and explosive gas can enter the crew compartment. The bore evacuator is a pretty simple solution, with holes that allow gases to enter the evacuator as the round passes by. This acts like a pressure reservoir. When a round leaves the barrel with this attachment, the pressure is released from the forward-facing holes of our evacuator, and this pushes the remaining gases outwards. The two primary rounds used by the M1 are the M829 depleted uranium round, which is a sabot kinetic energy round, and the M830A1 heat round, which, despite its name, does not use heat as part of its offensive. It uses a kinetic energy shaped charge. We have been piling on weight in this vehicle. The armor, cannon, engine, and ammunition makes this an extremely heavy vehicle, weighing between 52 and 68 tons depending on the generation and configuration. The M1 Abrams needed a track and suspension system capable of bearing that weight. For a vehicle this heavy, typical helical springs have some problems. First, their maximum travel is limited. At a particular load, the layers of a helical spring will meet and no further travel is possible, bottoming out and providing an extremely uncomfortable ride for the crew. To deal with a heavier vehicle, we need to increase the spring coil diameter, taking up an increasing amount of space. This was an issue for World War II era tanks, with the M4 Sherman opting to use a volute spring, which is a conical spring that is capable of compressing to a much smaller. Modern tanks utilize the torsion spring, which take up very little space inside the tank, though they do raise the tank's height considerably. The torsion springs of the M1 are located here, and because they are inside the hull, they raise the hull height by 150 millimeters. The road wheel is attached to a lever which can travel up and down. This lever arm is attached so that it twists when the lever arm moves up and down. The spring force is derived from the bar's resistance to torsion. Older tanks incorporating torsion bars had limited travel 20 centimeters. During the development of the M1, the two tanks were pitted against each other. With the M1 benefiting from 20 years of material science progress, its max travel was nearly double that of the M60 at 38 centimeters. When tested on a track with a series of 30 centimeter bumps at 32 kilometers per hour, the M60 managed to the torsion spring wheel distance twist more than it would be a long same torsion. The tank need to be mounted to two sides, meaning the wear on the if bent along its hydro-attached this is fillable with valve.